Thank you, Mr. Williams, for that brief introduction. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be here with this well-respected group of professionals who directly or indirectly is involved in combating financial crime. Madam Commissioner. The central theme, widening the use of the Proceeds of Crime Act through collaboration. Most speakers before me emphasized the collaboration aspect of it. But for me, I'll be speaking more about the need to expand the use of the Proceeds of Crime Act in Jamaica. And it will be a journey that I'll be taking you on. Somewhat a roller coaster ride where it will get rough because things were indeed horrendous, and at other points where it becomes a bit smooth, where we were having the upper hand, and then from a practical standpoint, what we need to do in order to achieve the standards set by those multilateral organizations. The documented history of Jamaica started from in the 1494 thereabout. And since then, Jamaica's ascension and recognition globally has been remarkable. We have Jamaicans who are leaders in the field of law, business, science, politics, and sports. But that worldwide recognition is somewhat tarnished by a long history as well of profit-oriented organized crime activities. And it has somewhat become ingrained in our culture. It has become almost a part of us, of us. So in the beginning, early in our documented history, the European came, there was forced labor, and there was the plundering of our agricultural produce, which was taken back to Europe and sold. So crimes were committed, and today we refer to that crime as preda larceny. Then there was one of the worst crimes against humanity in the form of slavery. Modern day crime, human trafficking. And the plantation owner, Mr. Hay, our colonizers, the ship owners, they all made tremendous profit from commission of this crime. But our early years, our genesis, was not marked by only those two major profit-oriented criminal activities. But we have a long history of the pirates in the Caribbean that looted ships and ports, and it is one of the periods that we believe, well, certainly from my perspective, mark the beginning of organized money laundering scheme to conceal what was looted from those ships that they pirated. So the gold, the jewelry, the silver, the goods that were stolen, in order to conceal it from the military or the police back then, let us call it that, they had to bury those treasures in the sand, offshore. And that concept, which started back from 1960s, thereabout, I think, 1700s. my apologies, Astrid. It remains with us in the Caribbean, Dawn. in that several jurisdictions in the Caribbean are referred to as offshore financial centers. And they're exploited for money laundering purposes, just like what Henry Morgan, Calico Jack, and those persons did back then. So bad was the situation in Port Royal, through Jamaica back then, that it was called one of the wickedest and wealthiest city in the entire world. So that is our history, whether we like it or not. And things have not changed substantially, because if we fast forward to modern day Jamaica, unfortunately, we are still seen as one of those murder capitals of the world with a very high homicide rate. And whilst we are speaking about financial crime, you are wondering why I'm bringing in the issue of murder. The JSF will tell you a common element in murder in Jamaica is the use of firearms. But for us, as financial crime investigator, the real reason for this high homicide rate in Jamaica boils down to the ability of these persons to enrich themselves from acts of murder. And if you look at a few examples, since last year until now, how many stories you have read, or reports, or news items that you have read, where grocery stores were robbed, one or two persons were killed as a result of it. The larceny of a motor vehicle from a taxi operator, and he was killed as well. The extortions, the lottery scamming incidents in the western parishes, I am sure over 70% of the homicide in those parishes is all as a result of lottery scamming, ill-gotten gains. And if we look at what the police tend to say is the real motive for crime, gangs against gangs, why is it that they are fighting? For turf. Why the turf? So that they can extort the businesses within the community or nearby. Or they can hire their guns, or they can be involved in contract killing. So it is not so much the gun, as far as I am concerned, that we need to focus on. We also need to look at the financial flow, that illicit financial flow that is triggering the high homicide rates that we have. But as if the crime rate alone is not bad enough, we have core crimes being committed all because they generate high proceeds in doing so. And the list is never ending for us. Drugs, small arms, lottery scamming, corruption and extortion, and it goes on and on. Globally, the UN Office on Drugs and Crime estimate that about 2 to 5% of global GDP is laundered on an annual basis. Applying those estimates to Jamaica, the figure we are looking at is quite substantial, which is approximately in Jamaican 45 billion to 112 billion Jamaican dollars being laundered on an annual basis. And it is not too difficult to make that connection in terms of those figures, because some recent headlines, which I'll show, senior employees of financial institutions being investigated are charged for multi-billion-dollar frauds. Cocaine worth 3.7 billion seized at Ian Fleming Airport. The JDF seizing drugs again, value 1.1 billion. Customs destroying counterfeit goods, valued US 60 million. And just last year, another seizure of counterfeit goods valued 300 million. But we try to be resilient and implement countermeasures, which takes place from the policy level to the operational level. And we mention recognizing FATF's 40 AML safety recommendations. We were one of the first countries in this region to enact an asset forfeiture law and the Money Laundering Act back in 1994 and 1998, which was consolidated in 2007, giving rise to the Proceeds of Crime Act, an act that is far-reaching in its consequence, and I don't need to restate most of what affects us on a daily basis as a result of this law. But if you are crossing border and transporting cash of US 10,000 or greater, you are required to declare it to my good friend, Commissioner of Customs. That is a result of the Proceeds of Crime Act. You cannot use in excess of $1 million in cash to transact a business in Jamaica. That too is as a result of the Proceeds of Crime Act. And when you go to a financial institution to open a bank account and need to present 1 or 2 IDs, source of funds, etc., that too is as a result of the Proceeds of Crime Act. Then we got membership in Egmont. We established the FID as a centralized financial intelligence unit to address the incidents of money laundering, which we need to emphasize that. I'll speak more to that throughout the presentation. But at the end of the day, only FID leading the effort in terms of these investigations. We got a very low rating by Don Spicer's agency. And in the words of the assessors, overall, Jamaica demonstrates limited characteristics of an effective system in its ability to successfully investigate and prosecute money laundering. Money laundering has been identified, but as a standalone offense, it is not regularly pursued. And they also said, had parallel money laundering investigation been pursued along with other cases, there may be a greater impact on the overall number of money laundering investigations and prosecutions, right? So it'll be very close to the 200 cases that Astrid is targeting by 2026. So fast forward, we are now on a grey list, periwinkle list. And the specific follow-up items were Jamaica should implement proper measures to ensure the increasing of money laundering investigations that are using financial intelligence information. So Jamaica is in receipt of thousands of large cash transaction reports and suspicious transaction reports. The majority, well, let me not say the majority, a large amount are quality intelligence from the financial institutions that have incurred significant costs to put system in place to report these to the FID. But the assessors were of the view that we were making good use of them in converting those intelligence into charges and prosecutions. And they also advised that Jamaica should implement the planned increase in constabulary financial unit, again pointing back at the FID solely in regards to their resourcing, and demonstrate that this and wider reforms are increasing money laundering investigation and prosecutions, including those involving transnational organized crime, or a long history from 1494 until now. So again, we are placed on the grey list, and the grey list can potentially have severe consequences. Dr. Lewis mentioned a few. He talked about the pensioners, but also there'll be enhanced scrutiny of remittances coming into Jamaica. Right? I think probably close to 4 billion in remittances flow into Jamaica on an annual basis, or is it 3.4? I don't remember the exact figure. All of those remittances will be subjected to enhanced due diligence. Some will be prevented from flowing in, some will be allowed, but not in the traditional day or couple hours, but actual week. The rating agencies will downrate our bonds that are issued on the international market. Hence, to borrow money on the capital market overseas, the government will have to pay a higher interest rate because of that. Then the issue of de-risking, which will lead to a reduction in investments in Jamaica, grants and aids from the multilaterals, and worse, negative growth. Now, the list that you are seeing there, it is not Dr. Lewis's Dean's list, or the G7 or the G20. That list, I term it that way, don't blame me. I call that list the rogue list of countries in terms of their money laundering regime. And if you look at the list carefully, these are countries that are largely economically challenged, except for a few. UAE, Cayman, Turkey, Panama, and we'll put the Bahamas there, seeing that they're in the Caribbean. But economically challenged. And it begs the question, is it because of these jurisdictions being underdeveloped and poor, they're not able to have an effective, robust AML regime in place? Or on the converse, is it because they don't have a robust AML system in place to combat organized crime effectively while they are poor? I will leave you to answer that question. So we were quick to put in measures again to be resilient, being on the grey list. We have developed a very sophisticated software system that we capture all information about our money laundering investigations and prosecutions. What is the predicate offense? Which sector it is laundered in? Which jurisdiction the predicates occurred in the first place? How many persons are involved? How long it stayed in the courts before it is finalized? What is the outcome of the prosecution? And we use this to make better decisions and to develop strategies going forward. We joined forces with the Office of the DPP and did monthly training over a year for prosecutors and clerk of courts. We reach out to police officers who are external to the FID. Mr. Hay don't like when I use that term, external police. The officers at our office are police as well. But we reach out to them and we sensitize them about the use of POCA. We allocate resources to combat money laundering linked to transnational organized crime, and we prioritize the investigations linked coming from suspicious transaction reports. And that less than organized manner of getting the external police to use POCA, I can't punish me here now when I get back to the office. External police resulted in major improvement in our effectiveness, because in 2020 when we got grey-listed, or the year before, we were at 20 ML charges, 20 persons charged for ML. And by the end of last year, we doubled that figure and currently sitting at 43 at the end of December 2022. That is over 100%. And as it relates to conviction, in 2020, there were 3 convictions for money laundering. By the end of 2022, we're up to 10. That is, Dr. Clark is here, probably about 200 or 300% increase in number. But it's not just convicting people, we are taking bad people off the street. Because in one instance where murder was committed, the person's debit card was taken, used at an ATM, the DPP ruled that those persons should be charged for money laundering as well. And that individual, the mastermind, got 12 years imprisonment for the money laundering offenses. The other parties got up to 7 years. A senior banker who told on record that she was charged for 35 million, again, charged for money laundering, and she got 7.5 years imprisonment. Normally, they'll get probably 3 years or 2. 7.5 years. And a public servant, Sanjay Elliott, charged with money laundering, first offense, courtesy of Colonel Edwards' agency working with FID's assistance, he got 3.5 years. First time offender for corruption in Jamaica, suspended sentence, normally, or a fine, or something less. So we made good grounds, and the outcome were good. But our effort in asset forfeiture was even more impressive. So what you are seeing there is an apartment complex in Golden Triangle, and we own, the government own, 5 apartments in that complex that we took from a drug dealer. And over the 3-year period, we completed 49 asset forfeiture cases. The value of those 49 cases in terms of the assets that we are pursuing or the criminal benefit that we are trying to recover is almost 3 billion Jamaican dollars. When you look at it from a simple average standpoint, it is saying each of those convicted persons benefited from crime to the tune of 50 million Jamaican and 41,000 United States dollars. So they are involved, they have a long history of crime, and this is the average, simple average of 49 based on the amount. That is the extent of their benefit from crime. 12 cases were adjudicated by the court. There was no challenge. No one came forward in court via affidavit or their attorney to say your computation is incorrect because here is 50,000 that was lodged to my account. You are saying it is from crime. Here is evidence that is from legitimate sources. No one to date has come forward to challenge that what we have computed, some of it came from legal sources. So it is serious. They negotiate. And because my boss again is soft, he will look at their ability to pay and come to a reasonable settlement with them. So the value of the assets that we have obtained from those 12 cases that were adjudicated by the court is 640.5 million and US 11,200. But we are doing good, but the challenges are there. 20 more minutes? Okay. The challenges are there. For an instance, last year, the largest cash seizure in Jamaica's history, 4 million United States dollars. The investigation is almost complete. We are trying to find the person who is no stranger to organized crime. Can't locate him. Nor has he come forward to claim his money. So you know what he's saying? That is chicken feed. Mr. Hay and your friends up there, when I can forfeit it, I will make more than that within a week or so. Then another drug dealer, alleged drug dealer, currently before the court to be extradited to the United States, Julie, so you can look at him there. we have moved to restrain his assets. And these assets are 5 luxury vehicles, a 2020 CRV, a 2019 Mercedes-Benz C300, a 2019 Toyota Tacoma, a 2020 Mercedes-Benz GLE 43, and the oldest of the cars, a 2016 Nissan Infiniti. Almost $50 million in motor vehicles. But it gets worse. We restrain his bank accounts that we are aware of. And one institution that have provided us information based on the restraint order show that he currently, as of November 2022, has $51 million in bank accounts. So this drug dealer is making some serious money. But it doesn't stop there. Because we have documentary proof, which is also restrained, of he giving a loan to a development company for $1 million United States dollars. 2 cases. We have several other issues in terms of the current scenario. Over 190 ML cases, over 60 active asset forfeiture cases, over 1,000 people charged with fraud and ML last year, with a combined value of over 9 billion. It is taking us between 12 and 18 months to complete a complex, large-size investigation. So the media is saying, where's the arrest in this present case? But it cannot be done within 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And coincidentally, the lead investigator just walked in. It is impossible, right? Because when we investigate these cases, court order, analysis, court order, and it goes on and on, following the money until it reaches its final destination. And the sad thing about it, we only have 12 pair of police boots at the FID. Just 12 pairs. And I am not wearing one. Only 12 pairs. So the plan, being practical and coming to an end, we need to expand the use of POCA in Jamaica. And what we are recommending is mandatory POCA training for all new recruits at the National Police College. We're also asking, more like demanding, that all in-service officers be exposed to POCA. Then we want to have the establishment of decentralized financial crimes unit at the area level of JSAF and specialized formation. And we are going to be bold. Again, Mr. Hay has been threatening me. We are saying to Commissioner, we need to agree on the minimum number of designated JSAF officers to work in these specialized areas. And I'm a person of number. And I'm saying 1/2 of 1% of JSAF formation is a good start. That is about 60 officers spread across 5 regions. That's 12 specialized trained persons. Then MOCA, Jamaica Customs Agency, Integrity Commission, RPD, Mr. Morgan, and POCA should have teams of trained financial investigators to undertake parallel investigations on crime, and then improve collaboration going forward. The results: economic prosperity and riches for the law-abiding citizens. So we'll bankrupt the criminals so they can't reinvest in crime. This will deter persons from engaging in crime. We'll identify other crimes and criminals and, of course, prosecute them. We'll use the forfeited fund, which is not something budgeted by our minister, right, of consolidated fund item, to use to fund crime reduction and social intervention program at the community level. And this will result in acceptable levels of crime and increased investments, economic growth, and prosperity. So now you see the relevance of my title, which is Racketeering or Resilience and riches. Thank you.